Hello. Hi. Okay, so my name is Morgan Milza. Currently, I'm a marketing and communication specialist at Emmaus, which is a nonprofit organization in Haverhill. Um, tell you a little story about how I got here. My whole going into marketing and communication started because I like to write. I thought I was going to be a novelist. I worked on the high school newspaper, thought I wanted to be a journalist. So I went to college with the idea of becoming a journalist. Nobody in my family had ever been to college. I'm a first-time graduate. We didn't have money set aside for me to go, so nobody offered me a full ride to university, so I ended up at community college. I grew up in New Jersey. I went to a community college in Florida. I had family that lived there, and I looked at what in-state tuition rates would be for state colleges and realized that out of all the places my family lived, Florida had the best shot. So I decided that I was going to go to school there. So I went to community college, tried to do the best that I could so I can get into a top-tier school. I went into the University of Florida for advertising, which is what I ended up getting my degree in. Show of hands, how many people know what the mascot is for the University of Florida? Anyone? We're over 1,000 miles away from the University of Florida, and that many people rose their hand. Don't underestimate name recognition. You want to go to a state school? Look big. They'll take you in, I promise. I did an internship in mail marketing, which doesn't sound really cutting edge. I volunteered at the USO, which was the company for, it's a nonprofit kind of company, for military personnel. You might have seen it in airports. They have rooms like that. They also do a lot of fundraising events. When I volunteered for the USO, I did it because my stepfather wanted to volunteer for the USO, and he kind of dragged me along. That's where I got my first taste of doing any kind of event planning. When I graduated from the University of Florida with my degree in advertising and I did a minor in business administration, I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. Would have liked to backpack around Europe, but I didn't have the money. So I ended up thinking about maybe doing like Peace Corps. That's where I stumbled along with AmeriCorps, which is kind of like the domestic Peace Corps. The VISTA program is for professionals. And I had one internship when I was in college, and it was because it was the only one I could find that would pay anything. I didn't have the opportunity to really intern for free, which I'm sure many of you can relate with. So I decided that, I would be placed for a year somewhere, get that kind of internship, and maybe it would boost me career-wise. When I was going to school, nonprofit work wasn't even a blip on the radar. Nobody talked about it. Currently, I find that I like it. I applied for the marketing communication specialist. I went through rounds of interviews. They liked that I came from community college. They liked that I worked full-time while I was getting my bachelor's degree. They said that it showed, hard work ethic. I can speak. And so I do a lot of graphic design work, social media. I will say that even though we spend time in a classroom learning about what the cutting edge is, a lot of companies are still in the past. Not all HubSpot or Google or Facebook. Print still exists. Graphic designers out there. I work on the newsletter for the company. I learned how to do Adobe, Creative Suite when I was in college. When I interviewed for this position, they asked me if I knew how to use Microsoft Publisher. I kind of laughed because I was always told that everybody knows how to use Microsoft Office. Don't even bother putting it on a resume. But that was what they used. Now they use Adobe. But then when I got hired, they did not. So I will say for some tips for all of you, know the basics and don't think they're not important if you already know them. A lot of us, especially people around my age who use social media since you were 12, they're looking for people like you that just know how to do it. Because so many people that are already there, they have to learn it. And we grew up doing it. We learned it without even knowing we learned it. That's it.
Good morning. I don't know about any of you, but I am totally inspired by being here this morning. Anybody inspired? Hearing some good stuff? A little round of applause for all the good stuff. My name is Lauren Buxa, and I am the Experiential Education and Internship Coordinator here at North Shore Community College. I started that position last July, so I just had my 1-year anniversary, work anniversary, but I've been here for about 7 years, doing different positions, and really, I think it was Sam that said, do what interests you and what inspires you and what you're passionate about, and this is what inspires me. So I'm really excited to be in this room, so I was happy to be invited and encouraged that Diane is so passionate about what she does that she understands that whole networking piece. This is networking. So I'm gonna start with my advice. This is networking, people. You know, building that portfolio, adding your LinkedIn, like making sure you're connecting with the people that you've met today in this room because they want to be part of your success. So there's that success story that I wanted to tie in. A little bit about me, quickly in 60 seconds. I don't know if I can do it, but I'll try. I grew up with entrepreneurial roots. I had on one side of my family growing up, my grandparents owned a small hotel. So I understood customer service and doing it well from a very young age. On the other side of my family, they owned a printing company, commercial printing, and a newspaper. So they owned that company that side of my family owned that company for almost 100 years and have recently closed it down. It continues on, but it's not owned by my family anymore. So I had kind of that background. I understood business. But when I went to undergraduate, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I love to connect with people, and I still do, but I didn't know that was a skill. Now I do. So what I did was major in interpersonal and organizational communication. So that was my bachelor's degree. I went into my first job out of college was customer service for John Hancock. You probably know that brand. While at John Hancock, started a master's degree program in business and finished it there. But the coolest part of that, and I'm trying to connect with you guys, is that I did my internship with he is now the vice president of marketing at John Hancock, and was able to connect with their Olympic ties. So I got to do some sports marketing, which I love sports too. So that was a great tie-in. So I was interested in it, right? So this is really all true. I learned a ton because I was really interested in what I was doing. And you never know when you ask somebody for help, like how far that help can be extended. So after about 5 years at John Hancock, I moved on and up and actually went into a boutique life insurance firm where I got my rose up to a director's position, which then I had people reporting to me, which I also have found is something that I really love. I was able to help mentor them. They weren't going to retire from that. They were young, they were ambitious. I got to help hire them. That was great. That was first, I got to make the decision on the hiring, so that was an interesting skill to learn as well. And I can say I maintained those folks, and they did get better, and they did increase their skill set while I worked with them. Had a child. I decided that I was going to leave Boston because, again, this internship matching process is where I've learned all this stuff, and it really needs to match your preferences. So your interest, your preference. Your actual preference is, can I make it out? Do I have a family I'm supporting? Do I have to go into Boston? What can I use that? Can I actually do that hour commute into Boston? Or what if my child gets sick? How am I going to get back to that daycare? So those are real. This happens over your lifetime. All of these things. So you're building this really strong foundation. So I actually went back into the second master's in education. So that landed me fast forward into this position about 7 years ago, or at least at this college. And I was able to use all of my experience and knowledge to create what was called the navigator position for six years. And I was helping students from exploration all the way into jobs and internships. So now you can see this position, which is the actual institutionalized position, how I could use all my skills and interests and abilities to sort of culminate here and actually get to talk to businesses, which is really exciting too, because I love that whole business side of me. I love reaching out to businesses and making sure our students get not just an opportunity, but the best opportunity for them. And working with faculty too, that is another exciting part of my job. Understanding what their goals are for their programs, it's different. So I have to think about what are the goals of the internship program, but what are really their goals? And they're all different. All the different programs of study or pathways have different goals for their students and different content, and I have to be up to date on that. So I enjoy learning, networking, connecting with people. These were all great, and in branding, like I love the marketing and branding too, so I have to market my own program. I'm a team of one right now, but we're hoping to grow. So anyway, hopefully I get to meet all of you. I did help Diane by making calls because I really felt I wanted to connect with the students before their internships, and then I got to talk to some of I think most of the back row has done an internship, so those back row kids. So anyway, this is exciting. So thank you so much, and thank you for having me on the panel. I appreciate it.
Great. Good.
I think on that card, I emailed the RSVP, and I got a thing back saying it was undeliverable. That's why I'm glad he got the call.
Good. Good. Okay. I'm Sandy Fuse. I'm the program coordinator for the Graphic Design Integrated Media. And if you'll notice, it's an option of marketing. And you say, wait a minute, graphic design is art. Graphic design is not art. Art is something that you create, and as long as you like it, you're happy. Graphic design is you have to create something that your client likes, and it does whatever they hired you for. So if you're selling tickets, you fill those seats. If you're selling widgets or products, they fly off the shelf. Graphic design is creative just like art. However, it's a business component. It's part of business. So you work in a marketing department typically. So that's the difference. And there are jobs for graphic designers. Many times the artists end up in a graphic design position because their art is wonderful and they can sell it and show it in galleries, but sometimes it just doesn't pay the bills. So what I'm saying here is we have a fantastic graphic design program that's an option of marketing. So you take a lot of marketing classes because you have to understand who you're pitching to, who you're creating your campaigns for. I started out as a teacher because that's all I knew in high school. I took graphic design classes in high school, loved it, so I wanted to be a graphic design teacher. Taught for 1 year at a high school and realized it was just babysitting. They didn't want to learn graphic design. And so I went back, got my master's degree, and I got a job at a high-tech company, startup, that was like Adobe Creative Cloud. It was like Adobe, but it cost $1 million. So it was a high-tech company just starting out, and we sold to Time Magazine. We sold to USA Today. We installed these big $1 million computer systems, and I got to train them. I got to teach all of their graphic designers and layout artists how to use this equipment. And I quickly realized I like telling our design people or our development people what to do. Because everybody's telling me, if you had this button, it would be so much easier for me to do my job with your software. Great. I went back. I became a product development manager, developing new products for a graphic design manufacturer. So I was still doing graphic design company things, but now I'm in a totally different area that I didn't really know all that much about. Where did I learn it? I learned it on the job. So what you're going to learn here is the foundation. But every day when you're out there, you are going to learn new skills because it changes, especially in our industry. In a graphic design and marketing, it changes constantly. And so you will always be learning new and better ways to do something. I then went on to another startup, the first flatbed scanner company. We had to develop a whole new industry around flatbed scanners. You don't see any drum scanners or the traditional anymore, you just see the flatbeds. So we were a replacement product. From there, I went to another company that did high-end printing presses. Got to travel all over the world, teach people in Japan how to market things, Germany, Czech Republic. So any job that you have isn't your job for life. you can then evolve as well. If you go into a company and you say, I like what that person's doing over there, that's a neat job. Just start either taking more classes or figure out how to get to that. So this is foundation. So keep that in mind while you're here. Learn everything you can. Figure out what industry interests you, and then apply what you've learned when you get out of school.
Hi, good morning. You guys can hear me? Hi. My name is Chris Topping. I'm from the Caribbean, so like being here was a very exciting experience. At first, I was very undecisive of what I wanted to do. I wanted to do marketing, then I wanted to do graphic design. So I thought I had to like pick one, but then I realized I could do both together by choosing the graphic design integrated media program. From my experience there as a student, teachers are very helpful. Like, I could send a teacher an email at 2 o'clock in the morning, and she would respond like in 5 minutes.
Only if I can't sleep.
But yeah, like being here, and like it's very inspiring, and to see all the different stuff. I would say my words of wisdom or advice to other students is that it's not easy. It's not hard. It's to keep working hard and like don't drop out. Is like this is what you want to do. You spend a lot of money to be here, and it's a competitive field. There's like 7 billion people in the world. So like create your own style and do it. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maddie. Diane gave me a nice little intro earlier, but just to sort of recap, I first came to North Shore Community College right out of high school in 2014, mostly because I really wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to also work and save some money because the thought of going to an institution paying upwards of 50, 60 grand a year to not know what I was there for just sounded crazy to me. So I came here in the liberal arts program mostly to find out I had an idea, much like Chris, of sort of what I wanted to do. I was thinking sort of something marketing, business related, but I really used the elective portion of the liberal arts program to my advantage to find out what it was I didn't want to do. I sat in a pre-calc classroom for a semester and realized that anything with numbers, my eyes would glaze over, so that was definitely not for me. And although I enjoyed the bio classes I took as my gen eds, I knew that that also wasn't for me. So really all signs were pointing to business, marketing, a lot of what you were saying, Lauren, about how sort of finding where all of my interests and all of my skills sort of culminated. That was in the marketing field and in communications. There's a lot of overlap there, which as students you find. So I finished my associate's degree here. I transferred into Salem State where I got my bachelor's degree in communications with a minor in marketing. And that was right around the time that the social media marketing program was being launched here. And so I said to Diane, hey, give me some more info. What's this all about? This looks great. This looks interesting. And so much of it had lined up with what I had already done. And then everything that I hadn't done was stuff I knew I needed to know in order to be successful in the field going forward. So I came back and did that and just actually finished up that program in May. And I guess my role here today is to kind of, humanize the panel in a way, because I still feel like, well, I sort of have one foot out of the door, I still sort of have one foot in the door in terms of being a student. And I think that if I had to give any kind of advice, it would be that we're all always students. Anytime you walk in that classroom, you really have to leave your ego at the door, especially I think in the field of social media marketing, where a lot of times businesses and people think that because it's social media, and like Morgan was saying, a lot of us have been on social media since we were very young. I think people take for granted the fact that it is such a great tool for business if used correctly. You know, nothing that you do on social media for business is arbitrary, which I think a lot of times people tend to think, you take a picture, you like the picture, it's great, let's post it at now because I'm having my lunch and I have 5 seconds to post a picture. You really learn how to hone in all those skills, and you learn stuff like best times to post and content, and sort of where all these different fields, graphic design and communication, digital marketing, print advertising, they all overlap to make a business really successful. And at least in my experience, so I did an internship at a very high-end hair salon. I was brought in as sort of like the social media person to work with the owner to sort of strong-arm her marketing efforts. And then when I finished that, she actually asked me to stay on full-time, so that's what I'm currently doing. But I still, I don't plan on staying there forever. There's still a big wide world out there. And so I guess my other piece of advice would be, it's really about taking opportunities as they come to you, and really just treading water, giving your best with whatever is put in front of you. If you have a certain set of skills, has been successful in the past, try it. But also don't turn your back to things that people might say to you, hey, try this, or in my experience, this worked really well, maybe you want to try that. So just being really open-minded in the classroom, outside of the classroom. The people who work here are amazing. They want to see you be successful. Leverage each other, too. I made some wonderful friends. Actually, that back row, hi guys. Shared many classrooms with Chris. I was in classes with Diane, with Professor Sapia, of Sandy. So just really take everything as it comes to you and see it as an opportunity and say, what is this going to teach me? What can I learn from it? What are my takeaways? And be very cognizant of those as they come. Write them down if you have to. But yeah, you're in a great program. You're in a great position. Just take full advantage of everything that sort of comes your way, because you're in a position where you're going to have lots of opportunities. And I guess that would be it from me.
Very good. Hi, guys. My name's Scott Walker. I graduated high school with Maddie, 2014. Want to see how many people got that? No, I'm a returning student. Came from a sales career and found that I was a little bit, I guess you'd say, behind the times in skills for social media, digital marketing, that kind of stuff. So I decided to come back and join the social media program, the certificate program. I found it was excellent. Diane's classes are phenomenal, if you haven't already taken some of them. If I can give you a recommendation for success I'll tell you, a lot of the classes are strictly online. And I noticed that you absolutely have to stay current with those classes instead of getting behind. When nobody's kind of pushing you or looking for, feedback on a regular basis, you can tend to maybe let it slack a little bit. And if I can recommend anything, it's stay current with the online courses, because that work will get caught up with you. Yep.
Open it up for questions. The real deal. People that support you, people that have been through it. What are your questions?
I have a question for the students on the panel. So, being that you had to take online classes and hybrid classes, what was your learning curve? How long did it take you to get up to speed to say, okay, I'm comfortable with this learning management system with Blackboard?
I would say for me, I'd say playing with it for a couple of weeks kind of got you, and then with Blackboard being, could you hear me? With Blackboard being the main online program for North Shore, once you get that dialed in, any of the classes they're simple after that, because they're all kind of running on the same basis. So everyone structures them slightly differently, but it's all kind of the same program. So a couple of weeks playing with it, and you know what's going on.
I would add to that the same way we were just saying, there's still a lot of merit in print work and print advertising. If you are the type of person that, I personally, I use a paper and pen planner, so anything that was posted on Blackboard or in those online classes, I still have to write out deadlines and dates and then attack it with my highlighters. So you sort of have to find a system that works for you. If you're the type of person, you can log in once a week to Blackboard and you can get the work done there. And memorize your deadlines, that's awesome, and use that. But if you're the type of person you have to stick something on your bathroom mirror or use a planner or whatever, you really have to take it upon yourself to find what works for you and kind of run with it and hold yourself accountable, I would say.
Hi again. So, just a quick definition of Blackboard for any new students. It's a software we use where we check our grades or any new assignments like that, and you could take online classes in it. So, as to continue on as what he was saying, is that if you're like very tech savvy, it should be pretty easy and it's very easy navigatable, I would say. But you just have to find what works for you. It's just that when the internet goes down, back to the old days with the paper and the pen.